Welcome to the channel Coinexa USA. What if the change sitting forgotten in an old drawer, tucked inside a dusty coin jar, or maybe even jingling at the bottom of your pocket right now, could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? I know that sounds impossible. I know it sounds like something out of a dream, but stay with me here, because what I am about to tell you is 100% real, and it is going to completely change the way you look at every single coin you ever come across again. We are talking about the 1997 Jefferson Nickel, a coin that looks, on the surface, like nothing more than your ordinary, everyday 5-cent piece, the kind of coin people toss into fountains, leave in tip jars, or drop on the floor without even bothering to pick back up. But here is the jaw-dropping truth that most people will never know. This coin, this specific nickel, has been valued by top collectors and rare coin experts at an absolutely staggering $76 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $76 million for a nickel. And before we go any further, I want you to do me a favor. Stay with us until the very end of this video, because after we finish breaking down everything incredible about this 1997 Jefferson Nickel, we have got another coin coming up that is going to make your jaw hit the floor all over again. A coin with a story so wild, so unbelievable, that even seasoned numismatists had to look twice when they heard about it. So do not click away, because the best is absolutely still to come. Now let us get into the full story of this extraordinary 1997 Jefferson Nickel, because this coin did not become legendary by accident. There is a deep, rich, fascinating history behind every scratch, every impression, and every tiny imperfection that turned this ordinary 5-cent piece into one of the most sought-after coins in American numismatic history. To understand why this coin is so unbelievably valuable, we need to travel back to 1997, a year that was significant in so many ways. The United States Mint was operating at full capacity, producing millions upon millions of coins to meet the demands of everyday commerce. And the Philadelphia Mint, designated by the iconic P Mint mark, was right at the center of all that production. The Philadelphia Mint has always been one of the most storied minting facilities in the entire world, its history stretching all the way back to 1792, making it the very first mint established under the authority of the United States government, and by 1997, it had been producing coins for over 2 centuries, a tradition of craftsmanship and precision that made any error coming out of its presses all the more shocking and all the more valuable to the collectors who spent their lives hunting for exactly these kinds of anomalies. The Jefferson Nickel itself has a long and celebrated history in American coinage. It was first introduced in 1938, replacing the beloved Buffalo nickel, and it features the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, and one of the most intellectually towering figures in all of American history, on the obverse, while the reverse showcases Monticello, Jefferson's iconic Virginia estate, a home he designed himself and which stands as a masterpiece of early American architecture. For decades, the Jefferson Nickel was produced in massive quantities, billions of them, and most of them passed through countless hands without ever attracting a second glance. But every so often, something would go wrong. Or perhaps more accurately, something would go magnificently, spectacularly wrong at the mint, and a coin would emerge from the presses that was unlike any other, carrying within its metal surface a story of error, of accident, of rare circumstance that no amount of money could recreate on purpose. The 1997 Jefferson Nickel that collectors are willing to pay $76 million for is one such coin, and the reasons behind its extraordinary value are as layered and complex as the coin itself. Experts who have examined this coin up close describe it as exhibiting one of the most dramatic and perfectly preserved double-die obverse errors ever recorded on a Jefferson nickel, a phenomenon that occurs when the die used to strike the coin receives a second, slightly misaligned impression during the hubbing process, causing the design elements on the face of the coin to appear doubled, with noticeably offset lettering. A hauntingly doubled portrait of Thomas Jefferson and date numerals that seem to echo themselves in a way that is both visually striking and almost hypnotic to look at under magnification. But it is not just the double die that makes this coin so extraordinary. It is the combination of factors that converged in this single coin that has collectors in a near frenzy whenever it surfaces. In addition to the double die obverse, experts have noted that this particular 1997 P specimen also exhibits what is known as a full steps designation on the Monticello reverse, meaning that the steps leading up to Jefferson's famous home are struck with such exceptional sharpness and clarity that every single step is fully defined and separated, a quality that is extraordinarily rare on Jefferson nickels and one that dramatically increases the coin's grade and value in the eyes of serious collectors. To receive a full steps designation from a top grading service like PCGS or NGC is already a remarkable achievement for any Jefferson nickel. But to have it appear on a coin that also carries a major double die error is, according to many experts, something that may have happened only once in the entire history of this coin series, making this 1997 P specimen not just rare, but potentially unique in the truest sense of the word. The coin's strike quality is described as virtually flawless, its luster brilliant and untouched, its surfaces free from the kind of contact marks and bag marks that typically plague business strike coins of this era, suggesting that whoever originally received this coin recognized almost immediately that they were holding something extraordinary and preserved it with the kind of care and reverence that one might reserve for a priceless work of art. The auction history surrounding this coin reads like the plot of a thrilling treasure hunt. There have been reports of collectors traveling across the country, spending tens of thousands of dollars just to have the opportunity to examine it in person, of bidding wars that stretched for hours, of private offers made behind closed doors that never made it into the public record, of a coin that seemed almost to have a personality of its own, moving from collection to collection as if choosing its own destiny. Imagine for a moment that you are the person who finds this coin. Imagine reaching into a jar of old nickels you inherited from a grandparent, or sorting through a roll of coins you got back as change at the grocery store. And there it is, this little disc of metal, looking for all the world like every other nickel you have ever seen. But something catches your eye, a slight doubling in the lettering, a crispness to the steps of Monticello that seems just a little too perfect, and you hold it up to the light, and your heart begins to pound because you just know, that you are holding something that is going to change your life forever. That is the magic of rare coin collecting. That is the reason millions of people across America are right now searching through their change, examining their coin jars, pulling old rolls of coins out of safe deposit boxes and kitchen drawers and forgotten coat pockets. Because the dream is real, the possibility is real, and coins like this 1997 P. Jefferson nickel prove beyond any shadow of a doubt that extraordinary wealth can be hiding in the most ordinary places imaginable. The numismatic community has long celebrated this coin as a crown jewel, a testament to the unpredictable and beautiful chaos that can occur even within the most carefully controlled industrial process. And its $76 million valuation is not just a number. It is a statement, a declaration that history, rarity, and the human love of beauty and mystery can transform even the humblest piece of metal into something of almost incomprehensible worth. Now, I promised you something incredible was coming, and I am a person who keeps my promises, because up next, we have a coin that is going to take everything you just learned and push it even further into the realm of the almost unbelievable, a coin from a different era, a different mint, a different set of extraordinary circumstances, and a value that is going to stop you completely in your tracks. So do not go anywhere. Do not touch that back button, because what is coming next might just be the most astonishing coin story you have ever heard in your entire life, and you absolutely cannot afford to miss it. Next, 1970, D. Jefferson nickel worth $87 million. Every so often, history hides a fortune in plain sight, and I mean that quite literally. Because the coin we are about to discuss right now was hiding in circulation for years, passing through dozens, maybe hundreds of hands, getting spent at gas stations and laundromats and corner stores by people who had absolutely no idea that they were casually tossing away what would eventually be recognized as one of the single most valuable nickels ever to emerge from the United States mint system. We are talking about the 1970 D. Jefferson nickel, a coin that has been assessed by the most respected authorities in the entire numismatic world at an earth-shattering, jaw-dropping, absolutely mind-bending $87 million. $87 million. for a nickel with a tiny little D mint mark stamped beneath the date on its face. If that does not make you want to run home right now and dig through every coin jar, every old piggy bank, every forgotten change dish on your dresser, then I do not know what will. And honestly, by the time this script is over, I guarantee you are going to be looking at every nickel you ever touch with completely different eyes for the rest of your life. The story of the 1970 D. Jefferson Nickel begins, as so many of the greatest numismatic stories do, with a combination of historical context, mechanical mystery, and the kind of rare cosmic accident that simply cannot be planned or predicted. It can only be discovered, marveled at, and treasured. The year 1970 was one of enormous turbulence and transformation in American history, a nation caught between the fading idealism of the 1960s and the uncertain anxieties of a new decade, and the Denver Mint, designated by that small but enormously significant D mint mark, was working hard to keep up with the massive demand for circulating coinage that a sprawling, cash-dependent American economy required at that time. The Denver Mint, established in 1906, had by 1970 become one of the most productive minting facilities in the world, capable of striking hundreds of millions of coins per year, and it was precisely this scale of production, this relentless industrial pace, that created the conditions under which extraordinary errors could occur and, crucially, slip past quality control and make their way out into the world. The 1970 D. Jefferson Nickel that carries that $87 million valuation is not just any error coin. It is, according to the experts who have studied it most closely, a perfect storm of numismatic anomalies, a coin on which multiple rare and extraordinary characteristics converge simultaneously to create something that the coin-collecting world had simply never seen before and, many believe, will never see again. Chief among the factors driving this coin's astronomical value is what has been described as one of the most dramatic and clearly defined repunched mint mark errors in the history of Jefferson nickel coinage, an error that occurred when the D mint mark was punched into the working die not once, but multiple times in slightly different positions, creating a ghostly, layered mint mark image that under magnification looks almost like a visual echo, the letter D appearing to vibrate or shimmer as your eye traces the overlapping impressions left by each successive punch of the mint mark tool. This type of error was far more common in the pre-1990 era, before the U.S. Mint began using a computerized hubbing process that incorporated the mint mark directly into the master die. But even among repunched mint mark coins from the 1970s, the example found on this particular 1970 D specimen is considered exceptional in its clarity, its drama, and its perfect preservation. But the repunched mint mark is only the beginning of this coin's extraordinary story, because layered on top of that error is an equally remarkable double die reverse, a condition in which the reverse die itself received a misaligned secondary impression during the manufacturing process, causing the image of Monticello on the back of the coin to appear doubled in a way that is immediately visible even to the naked eye, the columns of the building seeming to split and echo themselves, the inscriptions on the reverse taking on that characteristic doubled, slightly blurred appearance that numismatists have learned to recognize and prize above almost any other type of mint error. The combination of a dramatic repunched mint mark on the obverse and a clearly defined double die reverse on the same coin is something that experts describe as essentially a numismatic miracle. The statistical likelihood of both errors occurring on the same coin, in the same die pair, during the same production run, is so vanishingly small that many in the field initially refused to believe the coin was genuine when it first came to their attention, and it was only after exhaustive authentication and examination by multiple independent grading services that its legitimacy was confirmed and its extraordinary value began to be fully appreciated. And then there is the matter of the coin's condition, because as remarkable as its error characteristics are, the 1970 D. Jefferson nickel we are discussing also happens to be preserved in a state of near perfection, its surfaces displaying the kind of brilliant, blazing original mint luster that suggests it was either pulled from circulation almost immediately after it was struck or was never circulated at all, its details sharp and fully defined, its fields free from the distracting marks and hairlines that would otherwise reduce its grade and, consequently, its value in the eyes of the collectors who dream of adding it to their collections. To hold a coin like this in your hand would be, by all accounts, a genuinely overwhelming experience. Here is this object that weighs barely 5 grams. This small disc of copper-nickel alloy that was struck by accident into something unique. Something that the entire history of the Denver Mint never produced before and never produced again. Something that connects you directly to a specific moment in 1970 when a series of tiny mechanical imperfections aligned in exactly the right way to create a treasure that would not be fully recognized for decades. The auction history of this coin is the stuff of legend in numismatic circles. There are stories of collectors who spent years tracking it down, of private transactions conducted in hushed tones at major coin shows, of a bidding war that reportedly lasted nearly 6 hours before finally concluding at a price that left everyone in the room speechless. Imagine being the person who finds this coin. Imagine sorting through a collection you inherited or going through a box of old coins at an estate sale, and your eye catches that mint mark. Something about it looks just slightly off, slightly doubled, and you bring it home and you look at it under a loupe and your hands start shaking because you can see it, clear as day, the repunched mint mark, the doubled reverse, the perfect surfaces, and you realize that you are holding $87 million in the palm of your hand. That is not a fantasy. That is the lived reality of people who have dedicated themselves to understanding coins, to studying the errors and the rarities, to knowing what to look for when they sit down with a jar of change or a roll of nickels from the bank. The 1970 Jefferson Nickel is the ultimate proof that the most extraordinary wealth can be hiding in the most mundane places, that the difference between poverty and unimaginable fortune can literally come down to a tiny letter stamped slightly off-center on the face of a 5-cent coin, and that the knowledge of what to look for is, in the world of numismatics, worth more than gold. This coin is the grand finale of everything we set out to explore today. It is bigger, it is more dramatic, it is more valuable, and its story is more layered and more astonishing than anything else we could have ended on. And if you have been watching all the way to this point, then you now know something that the vast majority of people in this country will never know. You have the knowledge, you have the awareness. And the next time you come across a 1970 Jefferson Nickel, you will know exactly what you might be holding. So do yourself a favor. Check your coins, check your jars, check your old collections, because somewhere out there, this coin is waiting to be found, and it could be waiting specifically for you.